Okay, so The Alchemist. The book starts with a prologue, and the prologue has the story of Narcissus. The alchemist is reading a book. The alchemist reads a book containing the story of Narcissus, belonging to someone in the caravan. According to the legend, Narcissus kneels every day beside a lake to admire his reflection, until one day he became so fascinated with his own beauty that he fell into the lake and drowned. The goddess of the forest appeared at the lake and found the water transformed into salty tears. She asked the lake why it cried for Narcissus, assuming it had admired Narcissus' beauty. The lake replies that it was enjoying its own beauty reflected in Narcissus' eyes. Moving on to the story. So our story starts in our story is about Santiago the Shepherd. This story takes place in Andalusia, which is situated in Spain. As you can see from the screenshot, it is facing the sea just for future purposes. So the third person narrator describes a shepherd named Santiago arriving with his flock at an abandoned church. Santiago decides to sleep there. A giant sycamore tree grows on the spot where a sacristy once stood. While Santiago sleeps, he has a disturbing dream. We do not learn exactly what the dream was. When he wakes, his flock begins to stir, and Santiago talks to the sheep about a girl he met the year prior. She is the daughter of a merchant who Santiago is visiting to sell some wool. When Santiago arrives, she is the daughter of a merchant who Santiago is visiting to sell some wool. While Santiago reads, he meets the merchant's daughter and talks to her about life in the village. She asks why he chooses to be a shepherd even though he can read. It's not a usual thing that a shepherd can also read. Santiago avoids the question, preferring instead to talk about his travels. Santiago finds the merchant's daughter's Moorish eyes and raven colored hair entrancing. He experiences for the first time a desire to stay in one place for the rest of his life. When the merchant finally appears, he asks Santiago for the wool of 4 sheep and tells him to return the next year. The story jumps forward in time almost a year to 4 days before Santiago's next visit to the village. He stays in the abandoned church and daydreams about the merchant's daughter. As he urges his sheep along, he admires their loyalty. Santiago imagines he could kill his sheep one by one and each one would be none the wiser until he killed it. He feels troubled by his thoughts and that night has the same troubling dream he had the year before when he slept at the church. He, he has the same dream every time he sleeps under the sycamore tree that grows out of the church. Santiago recalls the day he told his father he wanted to travel instead of becoming a priest. His father told him that travelers see other lands but do not change as a result. They just end up being nostalgic for the past. His father said the only people of their class who travel are shepherds. The next day, Santiago's father gave him 3 gold coins to purchase a flock of sheep. He encouraged Santiago to travel, but said Santiago would learn that their own countryside is the best. As he recalls the scene, Santiago senses that his father also would have liked to travel but could not afford to while raising a family. Santiago wonders if his sheep enjoy discovering new roads and sights each day, but decides they only care about eating. He compares the flock's single-mindedness to his own preoccupation with the merchant's daughter. Suddenly, Santiago remembers that an old woman in the nearby village of Tarifa interprets dreams. He decides to visit her. Now, this is the opening of this book, and let's do a small analysis. The prologue of The Alchemist gives the reader several clues about what to expect in the story. The Alchemist says the book containing the story of Narcissus belonged to someone in the caravan, hinting that a journey may occur during the course of the tale. The Alchemist also expresses surprise that the author of the book extended the popular legend of Narcissus past its traditional conclusion. The usual version ends by Narcissus dies looking into the lake, illustrating the danger of vanity. In the version Santiago reads, however, we learn that the lake felt upset that Narcissus had drowned because it had enjoyed feeding its own vanity while looking into Narcissus' eyes. This idea that vanity can serve a good cause despite its peril will become an important theme of the book. The Narcissus story also readies the reader for the magical, mythical quality of the alchemist. It introduces us to a world where a lake can speak, goddesses roam the countryside, and magic is a fact of life. Now, upon meeting Santiago, the dream interpreter, where he went, takes his hand and begins chanting a gypsy prayer. When he was a boy, Santiago feared being captured by gypsies and he worries the fear will return. He takes solace in an image of Jesus in the room, but his hands still tremble. Santiago decides to go ahead and explain his dream to the gypsy. In his dream, Santiago is in a field with his sheep when a child grabs Santiago's hand and transports him to the pyramids in Egypt and tells him that he will find a treasure near them. As the child begins to say the exact location of the treasure, Santiago wakes up. The dream interpreter says he will not charge him anything, but will take 1/10 of his treasure that he will discover. Santiago dismisses the incident and believes he just this encounter shows that Santiago does not yet place any importance on his dream. He just thought that the gypsy is crazy. He dismisses the incident and believes he got away easy by promising the gypsy 1/10 of a supposed treasure that may not even exist. Now, Santiago arrives in Tarifa at the merchant and buys a new, thicker book. He rests in town to wait out the hot sun before he moves on. Now, he is reading the book when an old man who resembles an Arab approaches him. Santiago ignores the man initially, but the old man persistently questions Santiago about the book until Santiago relents and talks to him. The old man says the book is the same as the other book because it describes how people end up believing the world's greatest lie, that nobody can choose his own fate or personal legend. Santiago feels he understands the man's point. After all, he chose his own path and became a shepherd. The old man introduces himself as Melchizedek and says he is the king of Salem. Santiago has never heard of Salem and thinks the old man is crazy. The man says that if Santiago gives him 1/10 of his sheep, he will tell him how to find the hidden treasure. At this point, Santiago guesses the old man works with a dream interpreter in a gypsy scam, since in no other way could he have known about the treasure. But the man begins to change Santiago's mind when he reveals that he knows the name of Santiago's parents, the seminary he attended, and other things that Santiago hadn't told to anyone, demonstrating that he has a supernatural ability. Persuaded that the old man is at least wise, if not an actual king, Santiago feels convinced that he should listen to the old man. The old man explains the concept of the personal legend to Santiago. A person's personal legend, he says, represents what that person most desires to accomplish in his or her life. Everyone knows their personal legend when they are young, but as time passes, a mysterious force makes them feel they will never achieve their personal legend. Now, the man asks Santiago why he lives as a shepherd. When Santiago says he likes traveling, the man worries that Santiago is about to give up on his own personal legend and says he appears to everyone who is about to quit pursuing their dreams. He usually appears as a solution to a problem or an idea. He once appeared as an emerald to a miner. He says he will help Santiago if Santiago hands over 1/10 of his flock. Now, the meeting upsets Santiago and he begins wandering around throughout the city. As his personal legend since his birth was to travel, he then stops at a booth selling tickets for the boat to Africa, the place where he would be able to go see the mountains that he sees in his dreams, but decides to keep being as a shepherd. But suddenly, an intense wind called the Levanter picks up Santiago envies the wind's freedom and decides the merchant's daughter and his sheep are only steps on the way towards his personal legend. Santiago finds the old man the next day and brings his remaining 6 sheep, the rest of which he has sold. The man says Santiago can find his treasure in Egypt by the pyramids with no exact location. But then a butterfly appears. The man explains the butterfly is Santiago's first omen. The man gives Santiago 2 stones from his breastplate. He says the stones are called Urim and Thummim. And when an objective question is asked, God will reply using the black stone for yes and the white stone for no. They will help Santiago to read omens when in doubt. Now, as the old man watches Santiago's ship pull out of the port towards Africa, he remembers making the same bargain with Abraham that he made with Santiago. Now, arrival in Tangier. Santiago arrives in Tangier and sits at a bar. He worries that he can't speak Arabic, reassuring himself only with the money in his pouch. A man of similar age and appearance as Santiago addresses him in Spanish. The local dialect over there was Arabic, so meeting a Spanish person gave him some relief. Santiago tells him he needs to get to the pyramids and offers to pay him to serve as a guide. The young man explains that the route across Sahara Desert is dangerous, and Santiago needs to show that he has enough money to make the trip. The bar owner speaks angrily to the young man in Arabic. The young man drags Santiago outside, saying the bar owner is a thief. Santiago gives the young man his money to purchase the camel. Now the two traverse a crowded marketplace, and Santiago, while traversing, notices a sword on display. Santiago asks the young man to find out the sword price, but realizes the young man has disappeared. Santiago waits at the marketplace until nightfall for the young man to return and begins to cry when he realizes he's been robbed. Santiago takes inventory of his remaining possessions. He has his book, his jacket, and the stones Melchizedek gave him. He asks the stones if he will find his treasure, but when he puts his hand in his pocket, he realizes the stones have slipped through a hole and fallen to the ground. As he collects them, he remembers his promise to make his own decisions, and he resolves to continue his mission and does not take the guidance from those stones. Santiago falls asleep in the marketplace as he had no other place. He wakes as merchants began setting up shop for the day. A candy seller offers Santiago his first sweet. Santiago notices that some merchants speak Spanish and others speak Arabic, but they communicate with each other without words. Meanwhile, a crystal merchant wakes up feeling anxious. For 30 years, his shop has stood on a desolate street on a hill and attracted few customers. Business once boomed, but now it's not the same. That day, the crystal merchant sees Santiago looking around his shop. Santiago offers to clean glasses in exchange for food, but the merchant just dismisses him. Santiago, nevertheless, still went up and cleaned his glassware. Now, the crystal shop owner took him to a cafe and then explained to him that, according to my religion, we are obligated to feed you. Even if you had not cleaned those crystal, I would have fed you. Now, the crystal merchant says it was a good omen that customers entered while Santiago cleaned and offers Santiago a job. Santiago says he will clean all the merchant's crystal overnight in exchange for the money to get to Egypt. The merchant replies that the trip to Egypt is so long and expensive that Santiago couldn't earn enough for the trip in a single year. Santiago feels disappointed but agrees to take a job. Now, after almost a month of work, Santiago feels annoyed with his new job. The crystal merchant is grouchy and the work is tedious. The job pays decently, but Santiago would still need a year's saving to afford a new flock of sheep. Santiago offers to build a display case to place outside the shop and attract more customers. But the crystal merchant fears people will bump into it and break the crystal. He argues that business has been good. Why do you want to become greedy? The display case increases customers' traffic, and within 6 months, he has enough money to go back to Tarifa and buy twice as many sheep as he originally owned. Now, after a few days, he comes up with another idea to serve tea in those crystal glasses, and that business again booms. Months pass, and Santiago, nearly a year after his arrival in Africa, has become rich as a result of the crystal shop's success. One morning, Santiago wakes early. He tells the crystal merchant he wants to return to Tarifa and buy a large flock of sheep. And he encourages the crystal merchant to travel to Makkah, which was his personal legend. The crystal merchant says he will not go to Makkah and Santiago will not go back home to Tarifa. Santiago asks how he knows, and the crystal merchant says Maktub, which means it is written. As Santiago packs, the two stones, Urim and Thummim, fall to the floor, reminding Santiago of the old man. He considered how much he has achieved by traveling to Tangier and reconsiders returning home and becoming a shepherd again. The trip through the trip through the desert to the pyramids will offer him a chance to get to know a new place, and he could always return to his sheep. He decides to continue pursuing his personal legend and visits a supplier for the desert caravan. Traveling to the desert. An Englishman sits in a stable preparing for a caravan trip through the Sahara Desert. He studies alchemy and hopes to learn from an alchemist residing in the desert's Al Fayum oasis. The legendary alchemist supposedly discovered the Philosopher's Stone and the Elixir of Life. Santiago also joins the group traveling with the desert caravan, and he tells the Englishman his story of working for the crystal merchant. The Englishman seems unfriendly at first, telling Santiago that Urim and Thummim are cheap rock crystals. Santiago explains that a king gave them to him, but that the Englishman would not understand. The Englishman says he does understand because he read the story of Urim and Thummim in the Bible. He explained that he is seeking an alchemist, and Santiago replies that he is heading into Egypt to look for a treasure. As the caravan sets off, the leader orders everyone to swear to their god that they will follow his orders, as it is a dangerous journey. Now, Santiago on the trip, the Englishman reads constantly, so Santiago speaks to him very little during the journey. Instead, he daydreams and tries to read his thick book that he bought before meeting the old man and befriends the camel driver. On his journey, Santiago has learned to understand the surrounding environment and has learned to glimpse an insight using just the sounds and the mesmerizing visions. In the same way, he has tried to take the inputs from the book that the alchemist was reading by exchanging their duties for one day, and they both were confused a lot. Now, on the way, the caravan runs into groups of hooded Bedouins who warn of nearby thieves, barbarians, and tribal wars. The caravan travels quickly through the dangerous area, and no one speaks at night. The travelers do not light their fires either, so as to not draw attention, and they must huddle around a circle of camels to stay warm. One night, the Englishman, unable to sleep, walks with Santiago around the encampment. Santiago goes into detail about the story of his life, and the Englishman compares Santiago's success to the governing principle of alchemy called the soul of the world. The term refers to the positive force in the world that works for the betterment of all things, both living and inanimate. Santiago decides to learn more about the soul of the world by reading this Englishman's alchemy book. He learned that the most important text in alchemy is inscribed on an emerald called the Emerald Tablet and runs only a few lines. He also reads about the masterwork, which entails purifying metals to the point that all that is left of them is the soul of the world. The masterwork has two parts, a liquid part called the elixir of life that cures all ills, and a solid part called the philosopher's stone that can transform any metal into gold. The Englishman talks to Santiago about alchemy but feels disappointed with his superficial understanding of the practice. A war begins in the desert, but the caravan reaches the oasis safely. Egypt remains a long distance away, but Santiago feels pleased not to travel in fear any longer. They have made a pit stop in this island because of the raging wars, and the caravan's leader decides to stay here until it has subsided. The alchemist, the oasis, Al Fayum, The alchemist watches from Al Fayoum as the caravan arrives. The village around Al Fayoum buzzes with excitement, but the alchemist has seen many people come and go, so he pays no attention. Omens have made the alchemist aware that someone is traveling with the caravan. Someone traveling with the caravan will learn from him, and the alchemist wonders how capable the new apprentice will be. Now, Santiago takes a rest on the oasis, and the next day the Englishman interrupts him to ask help for finding the alchemist. Now, they go around asking for the alchemist, and an old man replies that even the tribal chieftains can't meet with him. Santiago decides to ask one more person before giving up for the day and approaches a young woman at a well. As soon as he sees her, he falls deeply in love with her. The girl introduces herself as Fatima and explains that the alchemist communicates with the desert spirits and lives in the south of Al Fayoum. The Englishman disappears to pursue the alchemist, and Fatima leaves after getting the water. Santiago remains raptured, love struck by Fatima. The next day, Santiago returns to the well hoping to see Fatima again. He finds the Englishman there as well. The Englishman explains he waited all day for the alchemist. When the alchemist finally arrived, he responded with "go and try." The alchemist feels annoyed to get such vague instructions after his long journey, but he resolves to try to turn lead into gold again. Fatima arrives after the Englishman leaves, and Santiago tells her he loves her. Santiago meets Fatima at the well every day. He tells Fatima about his personal legend, which leads him to the pyramids, but he says he wants to stay in Al Fayoum with her. One day, Fatima tells Santiago that she has been waiting for him her entire life, but insists that he continue to pursue his personal legend, and if they are meant to be together, they will meet again. In the coming days, Santiago watches a pair of hawks attacking each other and has a vision of armies riding through the oasis. Santiago remembers the old king's advice to heed omens, so he tells the camel driver about his vision. The camel driver takes Santiago's warning seriously because he believes that all people can penetrate into the soul of the world. A seer once told the camel driver that God will occasionally reveal the future to someone, but only so it can be rewritten. He tells Santiago to warn the local tribal chieftains of approaching armies. Santiago doubts the chieftains will take him seriously, but the camel driver explains that they deal often with omens. Now, the old man at the center of the chieftains say that the tribe believes in this tradition of omens, and Santiago just saw one, which means they must take messages from the desert seriously, and says he will lift a ban on carrying weapons in the oasis for one day, but if Santiago turns out to be wrong, they will kill him. Santiago leaves the chieftains outside. A horseman in black carrying a sword knocks Santiago to the ground. The horseman asks who dared read the flight of the hawk. Santiago says he did, and that he was able to see into the soul of the world. The horseman asks why Santiago is in the desert. He says he is following his personal legend. The horseman tells Santiago to find him the next day after sunset if he survives the ensuing battle. Santiago asks the horseman where he lives, and he replied, he pointed south before riding away. We learn that the mysterious horseman is the alchemist. The next morning, the tribesmen defeat the attackers, and Santiago is awarded with 50 gold pieces and asks him to be a tribal counselor. That night, Santiago wanders to the south of Al Fayoum and sees a tent that a group of passing Arabs says genies inhabit. Santiago waits beside the tent, and at midnight, the alchemist appears. The alchemist says Santiago should not be there unless his personal legend directed him to. He signals for Santiago to enter the tent. Inside, Santiago sees no traditional alchemy tools. The alchemist tells Santiago that he asked him to come to his tent because the omens told him Santiago would need help. Santiago argues with him here that he has already found his treasure, money, his camels, and Fatima. The alchemist points out none of these things came from the pyramid. The alchemist prepares to move on with Santiago to the pyramid after convincing him, but he still complains that he does not want to leave Fatima. Now, After much convincing, the alchemist leads the boy through the desert with a falcon on his shoulder. They travel for a week, speaking only little. On the seventh day, Santiago feels frustrated that the alchemist did not teach him anything but just rode. The alchemist says, "You should have learned through action." Santiago asks why is he an alchemist, and the alchemist explains he learned the practice from his grandfather when alchemy was simple, and man complicated it by writing books about it. Over the next 2 days, Santiago tells the alchemist his heart doesn't want him to continue because it fears it will lose everything. The alchemist replies that no heart suffers while it pursues its dreams, because to pursue a dream is to encounter God. Now, after crossing a mountain range, the alchemist says that they have 2 days journey to the pyramid. Santiago asks to tell him the secret of alchemy before the two part their ways. And the alchemist says Santiago already knows alchemy because he can penetrate into the souls of the world. That evening, hundreds of Arab tribesmen dressed in blue arrested them on the suspicion of being spies. The alchemist says Santiago is an alchemist and offers Santiago's money to the tribe chief. After the chief accepts the money, the alchemist says that Santiago could destroy the camp with the force of the wind by becoming it. The men laugh and challenge Santiago to prove the alchemist's claim. The alchemist says after 3 days, Santiago will transform himself into the wind. Santiago feels confused, and the alchemist says he was only trying to avoid getting killed. But Santiago replies that since he can't become the wind, they will die in 3 days anyway. The alchemist pours tea on Santiago's wrist, saying only fear prevents someone from living out their personal legend. Now, during these 3 days, on the third day, the chief and his officer visit Santiago to see if he can make good on his claim. Santiago looks out through the desert and it speaks to him. Santiago tells the desert about his love for Fatima and it offers its hand to Santiago to help the wind blow. It says that Santiago will also have to ask the wind for help. A breeze picks up as he asks the wind for help. The wind argues that Santiago differs too much from it, but Santiago contends that he desires to reach all corners of the world just like the wind. The wind understands but doesn't know what to do. The wind feels like Santiago demeans what it already knows how to do. It blows harder, annoyed, and tells Santiago to talk to the hand that wrote it all. Santiago says he will, but that first the wind should create a sandstorm so he can look into the sky without the sun blinding him. The wind picks up into a powerful gale called the Simum, and the tribesmen ask their chief if they can stop Santiago's stunt. The chief wanted to see him complete his task. So Santiago continued this conversation with the sun, and on his conversation, Santiago says that all things have their own personal legend, and when something realizes its personal legend, it must change so it can acquire a new personal legend. After hearing Santiago's words, the sun decides to shine more brightly and the wind blows harder so it can continue to block out the brightness of the sun. Santiago tells the sun that love transforms the soul of the world and asks the sun to turn him into the wind. The sun says it can't and suggests Santiago speak to the hand that wrote it all. The wind is happy to see the limits to the sun's wisdom and blows harder. Now, Santiago communicates with the hand that wrote all but senses he should not speak. Instead, he prays and experiences a rush of love. He realizes that the soul of God is his own soul and that he can perform miracles. Generations of people after remember the wind on that day. When the tribesmen look at where Santiago was standing, he is gone. Instead, he stands far on the other side of the camp. The men feel terrified and the alchemist seems pleased. The chief lets Santiago and the alchemist continue on their journey and provides them with an escort party. Now the Santiago, the alchemist, and their escort ride safely on a monastery. On the monastery, the alchemist transforms a block of lead into gold, divides it into four, and gives 2 pieces to the monarch. To the priest, keeps 1 piece with himself and gives 1 piece to Santiago. And then Santiago leaves. Santiago rides off alone As a full moon rises, Santiago sees the pyramid from atop a dune. He falls to his knees and sees a scarab in his hand. He starts digging in that spot but finds nothing. Eventually, two refugees from the tribal wars approach and yank Santiago from the hole. They take his gold and, assuming Santiago digs towards more gold, force him to keep digging until morning. When Santiago finds nothing, they beat him until he nearly dies. Santiago gasps that he saw the treasure in a dream, which makes the attackers think Santiago is crazy. One tells Santiago he had a dream of a treasure buried in Spain and describes the church and the sycamore tree from Santiago's days as a shepherd. The attacker says he isn't stupid enough to pursue it. Santiago smiles. He knows where to find his treasure. Conclusion. The final twist that the treasure lies under the sycamore tree in Spain the whole time brings Santiago back home, just as his father predicted when Santiago first set out on his travels as a shepherd. Most notably, however, this detail also reiterates the alchemist's lesson about the alchemists who have lost the ability to turn lead into gold. These men just wanted the treasure from their personal legends without actually living out their personal legends. The value for Santiago, the value of his journey does not lie in the treasure at the end, but in the knowledge and experience he gains from the journey itself. The fact that the treasure contains actual gold and jewels seems almost incidental, though it does emphasize the point made earlier in the novel that pursuing one's personal legend can also lead to material wealth. Yeah, the fundamental gist of the book revolves around the basic dilemma or whether one should listen to their heart or not. The boy first finds solace at being a shepherd, then at the crystal shop. The boy finds his love at a certain place and certain point on his journey embarked. He receives noble treatment for the person he is and he feels to have achieved everything in his life. He asks himself whether he should move further for his dream or not. My heart is afraid that it will have to suffer, says the boy to the alchemist. Tell your heart that fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second encounter with the God and the eternity. The alchemist replies to the boy. Now, with that, let me give you a one-liner summary, a light-hearted one-liner summary for this book. A dude dreams of finding his treasures, tours the whole world for it, and finds out he was sleeping on where the damn thing was buried. Thank you.